Camp logs show that by March 1944, she was attending to 15–20 fellow prisoners daily. The improvised salon spaces transformed barracks life, creating islands of normality amid displacement. Women scheduled appointments, discussed styles, and engaged in the feminine rituals that connected them to pre-war identities. The chemical smell of Tony Home Permanent Solution, available for 65 cents at the camp commissary, mingled with the institutional sense of military facilities. The steady snip of scissors and murmur of conversation created soundscapes of ordinary life within confinement. These sensory anchors to civilian identity proved powerful psychological tools for maintaining morale. Hilde Kruger, who had operated radio equipment for the Wehrmacht, wrote in her journal, "Today I received my first real haircut in 2 years. Afterward, looking in the mirror, I recognized myself again." In the camps, we maintain our hair because it remains the one part of ourselves we can still control. This sentiment echoed throughout women's testimonies collected by the Red Cross. Hair maintenance became an act of reclaiming individual identity within the collective prison experience. The products available for these beauty rituals astounded prisoners accustomed to wartime scarcity. Camp commissaries stocked Breck shampoo at 25 cents per bottle, luster cream at 30 cents, setting lotions, hairpins, and even limited hair dyes. According to supply requisition forms, Fort Oglethorpe ordered 200 bottles of shampoo monthly for approximately 250 female detainees. Quality products designed specifically for women's hair care, not harsh military-issue soap, were standard provisions. While German women at home cut each other's hair with whatever implements were available, prisoners used proper styling scissors. When German civilians fashioned rollers from rags and paper, American camps provided actual bobby pins and curlers. This contrast between homeland improvisation and captivity abundance further eroded Nazi claims of German superiority. American female guards frequently shared beauty advice with prisoners, creating unexpected bonds across enemy lines. Work personnel officer Lieutenant Patricia Reynolds documented in her April 1944 report, "Female prisoners express continual surprise at our beauty standards. Several have requested instruction in American hairstyling techniques." These cross-cultural exchanges extended beyond mere aesthetics. They revealed American women's expectations of maintaining femininity even in military service, contrasting sharply with Nazi propaganda about American women abandoning traditional gender roles. Camp photographs from this period show the transformation in progress. Initial intake images captured women with severe utilitarian styles reflecting wartime Germany's pragmatic approach. After months in American detention, the same women display fashionable victory roles, carefully set waves, and neat pageboys mimicking American styles. Military intelligence officers noted this visual adoption of American cultural forms as evidence of deeper ideological shifts. The simple act of weekly shampoo with actual shampoo, not substitute cleaners, represented a luxury unavailable to most European women by 1944. A Bavarian nurse noted in correspondence, later reviewed by military censors, the Americans waste on prisoners what Germany cannot provide its own people. This reality becomes harder to ignore with each passing day. The salon environment fostered more than physical transformation. It created space for conversations beyond war, discussions of styles, beauty, and normalcy that preserved essential humanity amid conflict. By summer 1944, access to beauty items for female German prisoners expanded beyond basic necessities into what military authorities classified as morale-supporting luxuries. Camp commissary records from Fort Oglethorpe document an expanding inventory of cosmetics and toiletries. Elizabeth Arden, cleansing cream at 85 cents, Max Factor pancake makeup at 65 cents, Revlon nail polish at 35 cents, Coty face powder at 50 cents, and Evening in Paris perfume at $1.25 per bottle. These prices, while representing several hours of prison work wages, remained within reach of prisoners who earned 80 cents daily for camp labor. Frida Lehmann, captured in Italy while serving as a military nurse, described her first purchase of American cosmetics in a censored letter later analyzed by military intelligence. "Today I bought something called pancake makeup. The color is natural beiges and comes in a compact with a mirror and sponge. This single item would be impossible to obtain in Berlin at any price. Here it cost less than 1 day's wages. The letter continues describing the texture, application method, and results with a precision reflecting the product's novelty and significance. Army procurement records reveal that cosmetics for prisoners utilized the same supply chains, providing products to American military exchanges. The 1944 Fort Oglethorpe commissary requisitioned 150 lipsticks, 75 compacts, 200 bottles of nail polish, and 100 jars of face cream monthly. These numbers represented a fraction of American production capacity. Revlon alone manufactured over 5 million lipsticks in 1943, while Germany's entire cosmetics industry had been converted to military production by 1941. The stark contrast became evident when Red Cross packages from Germany occasionally reached female prisoners. These parcels, documented in camp receipt logs, contained hand-sewn clothing, letters, photographs, and occasionally homemade skin creams made from whatever ingredients remained available. The comparison between these makeshift toiletries and American commercial products created profound impact. Hildegard Schmidt, a former communications specialist, noted in her diary, "The face cream from my sister contains animal fat and herbs. It smells strongly and separates easily. Beside it sits my American Pond's cream, pure white, consistent and effective. This small jar represents everything the rice cannot provide its people." Camp photographs taken during this period show a remarkable transformation. Images from August 1944 reveal women with styled hair, applied makeup, and maintained nails, standards of appearance impossible for most German women in the increasingly desperate homeland. Military psychologists noted that appearance maintenance correlated strongly with mental resilience. Captain Howard Matthews, medical officer at Fort Oglethorpe, documented in monthly health reports. Female detainees maintaining personal appearance demonstrate significantly lower rates of depression and disciplinary incidents compared to male prisoners. The availability of beauty products contradicted Nazi propaganda so effectively precisely because these items represented non-essential luxuries. Germany could rationalize failing to provide basics amid total war, but America's ability to supply enemy prisoners with luxury cosmetics demonstrated productive capacity beyond German comprehension. Quartermaster General Edmund Gregory noted in an October 1944 inspection report, "The provision of non-essential items to enemy detainees represents no significant burden on supply systems designed for a nation of 135 million civilians, plus global military operations." By autumn 1944, camp records document a remarkable reversal. German female prisoners began sending beauty products to family members in Germany. Using wages earned through camp work, women purchased American cosmetics and toiletries to mail home through Red Cross channels. A September 1944 mail log from Fort Oglethorpe shows 117 packages sent to Germany containing soap, face powder, lipstick, and hair products. These parcels from imprisoned enemy personnel to free civilians delivered devastating comparative evidence. Women imprisoned in America could provide luxury items that the Nazi state could not supply to its own citizens. This practical demonstration of American productive capacity accomplished what no propaganda could achieve: irrefutable evidence of systemic differences visible on women's faces. The psychological impact of beauty access extended far beyond appearance. Military psychologists studying female POWs documented profound identity transformation catalyzed by these seemingly superficial routines. Major Eliza Thompson, senior Women's Army Corps psychologist assigned to Fort Oglethorpe, compiled extensive observations throughout 1944. Access to beauty maintenance facilitates psychological resilience by preserving pre-war identity despite displacement. When appearance remains within personal control, prisoners retain agency despite confinement. Her reports tracked correlations between personal grooming and mental health metrics, finding that women maintaining regular beauty routines showed 63% lower rates of depression and 42% fewer stress-related physical ailments compared to control groups in standard military detention. These findings shaped policy across female POW facilities nationwide. Captain Richard Steinberg, psychiatric consultant to the Provost Marshal General's Office, wrote in his July 1944 recommendations, "The preservation of feminine appearance among female enemy personnel represents not merely morale maintenance but essential psychological prophylaxis against detachment from civilian identity." His analysis referenced 127 clinical interviews with German female prisoners, concluding that beauty routines provided critical temporal structure and sensory normalization within institutional environments. Individual transformations manifested physically. Nursing staff documented weight normalization, improved posture, reduced dermatological conditions, and decreased psychosomatic complaints among women regularly using beauty facilities. Camp medical records from Fort Oglethorpe show that sick call visits decreased 47% between February and August 1944 as beauty routines became established. Women who arrived with haunted expressions and military bearing gradually reclaimed civilian mannerisms and expressions. Their bodies physically recorded the psychological shift from combatant to woman. Marga the Kunze, whose initial impressions of American abundance had already begun challenging her worldview, underwent visible transformation documented in sequential photographs. Her February 1944 intake photo shows a gaunt face, hollow eyes, and severe hairstyle reflecting wartime Germany. By September, camp photographs capture remarkably different presence: healthy weight, styled hair, clear skin, and most notably, direct eye contact with the camera reflecting restored confidence. This visual evidence of transformation echoed across prisoner populations. The contrast between female prisoners in America and those remaining in Germany grew increasingly stark. International Red Cross inspections documented female prisoners gaining average 7 per 12 pounds during American detention, while German civilian women lost weight under increasingly desperate rationing. A captured German medical officer, Dr. Gerda Schneider, noted in her October 1944 journal, "The greatest American victory may be that their prisoners look healthier than our free citizens." This reality cannot be hidden from returning prisoners who have seen both worlds. The psychological impact intensified as prisoners began receiving letters describing deteriorating conditions in Germany. Women who spent mornings setting their hair with American styling products read accounts of German civilians washing without soap. Prisoners applying face cream before bed received letters describing sisters using cooking grease on chapped skin. This juxtaposition created cognitive frameworks that would fundamentally reshape political understanding. Former signal specialist Ilse Weber described this transformation in post-war interviews. "In Germany, we believed American women were shallow, appearance-obsessed and unfeminine despite propaganda images. In captivity, I discovered American women maintained femininity precisely because their system valued individual dignity regardless of circumstances. This fundamental respect extended even to enemies. My lipstick was never about vanity, it was about recognizing my humanity." As Allied forces advanced through Germany in late 1944, female prisoners watched newsreels showing German women lining up for water in bombed cities, their appearances reflecting years of deprivation. The stark visual comparison, prisoners in America with styled hair and healthy appearances versus civilians at home with visible malnutrition and neglect, delivered undeniable evidence of systematic failure. Captain Matthews documented prisoner reactions. During newsreel screenings, female detainees frequently touched their own faces and hair, physically comparing their present condition with the visible suffering of compatriots. This tactile self-assessment communicates more effectively than any propaganda. The female POWs who had once believed in German superiority now carried physical proof of American abundance in their very bodies. The repatriation process for female German POWs began in late 1945, with most returning to a homeland unrecognizable from what they had left. Military transport ships carrying these women from American ports delivered not just human cargo, but vectors of cultural influence. Camp records document that departing prisoners packed carefully selected American beauty products acquired during detention. The allowable 25-pound personal luggage typically contained multiple cosmetic items: Tangee lipsticks, Pond's cold cream, Breck shampoo, goods that would become treasures in devastated Germany. These women arrived in Bremen and Bremerhaven, carrying physical evidence of American abundance on their own bodies: healthy weight, styled hair, clear skin. The contrast with malnourished civilians created immediate visual impact. Military observer Lieutenant James Harrison noted, female returnees appear distinctly different from local women. Their physical condition alone communicates a powerful message about relative conditions in captivity versus freedom. Returning women embodied proof that contradicted years of Nazi propaganda about American barbarism and deprivation. The American beauty standards these women had adopted influenced post-war German aesthetics profoundly. Military occupation authorities documented the emergence of informal beauty services in 1946 to 47, often operated by former POWs using techniques learned in American camps. Ilse Harich, who had once been mesmerized by American lipstick at Fort Oglethorpe, opened Amerikanische Frisiersalon, American styling salon, in Frankfurt by 1948. Her business records show techniques directly adapted from camp experience. She offered victory rolls and page boy styles, replicating American fashions she had learned during detention. Statistical comparisons between American provision and German scarcity remained stark even after war's end. In 1946, when German civilian soap rations provided approximately 75 grams monthly per person, returning POWs described receiving 3.5-ounce soap bars weekly in American camps. When German women lacked basic cosmetics, former prisoners described commissaries stocking dozens of lipstick shades. This quantifiable contrast transformed abstract political ideology into practical reality measured in everyday objects. Interviews conducted for denazification procedures reveal how beauty access influenced political reorientation. Former signals specialist Marga Kunze stated during her processing, the Americans didn't win through force, but through industrial capacity, so vast they could provide luxuries, even to enemies. A system that produces abundant beauty products during total war is stronger than one promising beauty after victory, while delivering only deprivation. These women became unintentional ambassadors for American consumer democracy, their testimony carrying credibility precisely because they had been enemies. In 1955, Helena Schmidt, former POW from Fort Oglethorpe, participated in a university study on post-war German beauty practices. She recounted, "In captivity, I had better access to beauty products than German women have today, 10 years after surrender." This experience revealed that American abundance wasn't temporary mobilization, but sustainable production capacity. The cold cream jar told the truth, while both governments lied. This testimony, documented in Dr. Maria Kohler's research at Heidelberg University, reflects how seemingly trivial cosmetic access reshaped fundamental political understanding. The beauty industry in post-war West Germany developed with significant influence from former POWs. Corporate records from emerging German cosmetics manufacturers show multiple consultants and employees with American detention experience. These women brought knowledge of American formulations, packaging, and marketing approaches that shaped the development of brands like Nivea during Reconstruction. The American model of affordable mass-market beauty products replaced pre-war European emphasis on luxury exclusivity. Former POW Greta Hoffmann, who became marketing director for a major German cosmetics firm in 1953, explained in industry publication Cosmetic International, American Beauty Democracy, quality products available to all women regardless of class, represents their true ideology more accurately than any political declaration. In America, factory workers use the same face cream as film stars. This cosmetic equality creates deeper social stability than any government program. The women who once sat beneath makeshift salon dryers in POW camps became architects of modern German beauty culture. Their transformation extended beyond personal appearance to rebuild an industry and reshape cultural values. The democratization of beauty in post-war Germany, quality products at accessible prices, reflected American influences translated through these unlikely ambassadors. What began as shocked disbelief at being allowed to maintain their hair in prison evolved into fundamental reconsideration of political and economic systems. The American approach to female prisoners, recognizing their gender-specific needs even as enemy combatants, demonstrated a system that could afford both physical and psychological generosity. This practical experience proved more persuasive than any propaganda film or re-education lecture. January 1944. Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. The compact mirror revealed a face Ilse Harich, barely recognized. 2 weeks earlier, she had been intercepting Allied communications as a Nachrichtenhelferin for the Wehrmacht. Now, she carefully applied American-made Tangee lipstick purchased for 15 cents from the camp commissary. The creamy texture and fruit scent mesmerized the 24-year-old who had not seen lipstick since 1941. After 3 years of wartime austerity, this simple cosmetic represented impossibility made real. Across American detention facilities that winter, approximately 4,500 German female prisoners of war would confront a reality that contradicted everything. Goebbels' propaganda had taught them about American barbarism. They discovered a nation where hair appointments were considered essential, where beauty products were everyday necessities, where cleanliness and appearance remained priorities, even during global conflict. These simple grooming routines, luxuries that most German women had sacrificed years ago, would systematically demolish Nazi ideology more effectively than any re-education program. The mathematics of dignity were being written in shampoo and hairpins, in cold cream and lipstick, revealing an American industrial capacity that rendered German deprivation not noble sacrifice, but needless suffering. What began as astonishment at American hygiene provisions would evolve into complete psychological transformation. Operation Tidal Wave's aftermath. The Allied bombing of Romanian oil refineries during August 1943 had inadvertently led to the capture of several female Luftwaffe auxiliaries. By December 1943, Allied advances in Italy brought approximately 230 German female military personnel into Allied custody. These women, communications specialists, clerks, nurses, and administrators, expected degradation and assault as prisoners. Nazi propaganda had prepared them for American cruelty and violation. Instead, within hours of processing, they encountered American Women's Army Corps personnel who provided hygiene kits. These standard-issue packages, which American female soldiers received routinely, contained treasures, soap, shampoo, toothpaste, face cream, sanitary supplies, and combs. German women, who had washed with ersatz soap for years, treated these basic items as luxuries. Military records confirm that at Fort Oglethorpe's specialized women's facility, prisoners received hot showers daily, private toilet facilities, and washing basins with mirrors, accommodations exceeding Geneva Convention requirements. The systematic provision of feminine necessities began immediately, though its psychological impact would only be understood later. A German nurse later testified to International Red Cross representatives, "We expected to be treated as less than human. Instead, the Americans provided for our specific needs as women." This confusion about American resources began our education. Camp Commander Major Etta Collings established clear protocols. These women remain combatants under the Geneva Convention, but their dignity as women will be maintained. This policy, documented in administrative records from January 1944, ensured that female prisoners received gender-specific provisions that had become scarce in Germany years earlier. Female prisoners arrived at Fort Oglethorpe with hair uncut for months, wearing uniforms they'd worn continuously since capture. Photographs from intake processing show exhausted women with tangled hair and dirty faces. 2 weeks later, camp photographs documented the transformation: clean, styled hair, clear skin, and recovered posture. The women standing at morning roll call bore little resemblance to those who had arrived. They stood straighter. They had reclaimed something beyond physical appearance. "The Mirror," wrote Nurse Mathilde Schultz in a censored letter home, "gives back a person I had forgotten existed." The processing centers for female German POWs established a protocol that prioritized hygiene as both health necessity and psychological stabilizer. At Fort Devens, Massachusetts, newly arrived prisoners underwent a systematic restoration of feminine standards that Nazi Germany had gradually sacrificed to war priorities. Military quartermaster records from February 1944 document the exact contents of female hygiene kits: 1 3.5-ounce bar ivory soap, 1 4-ounce bottle Breck shampoo, 1 tube Colgate toothpaste, 1 8-ounce jar Pond's cold cream, 1 comb, 1 hairbrush with nylon bristles, a wartime innovation, sanitary supplies, and 1 hand mirror. American officials considered these items basic necessities, not luxuries. Helga Fischer, a former signals specialist captured in Italy, recorded her reaction in a diary later donated to the Smithsonian. "The American woman handed me this package as casually as if giving directions. Inside was a jar of cream that in Berlin would have cost 2 weeks' wages, if available at all. I thought there must be some mistake. There was no mistake. The American cosmetics industry maintained robust production despite wartime material restrictions. Federal allocation records show that in 1943 alone, American manufacturers produced 50 million jars of cold cream, 125 million bars of beauty soap, and 40 million bottles of shampoo, numbers that dwarfed German cosmetic production even before wartime restrictions. While German women at home washed their hair with increasingly harsh lye soap when available, POWs at Fort Oglethorpe received Drenny shampoo, America's first synthetic detergent shampoo. When German civilians fashioned hairpins from wire scraps, prisoners had access to bobby pins at 5 cents per card. As German women at home cut each other's hair out of necessity, the camp at Huntsville, Texas, installed 2 beauty station areas with mirrors and proper lighting. This contrast between homeland deprivation and captivity abundance created cognitive dissonance among prisoners that military psychologists noted in monthly reports. The U.S. War Department's accommodations for female prisoners exceeded Geneva Convention requirements by explicitly recognizing gender-specific needs. Army Regulation 327-4, Section 7b, February 1944, stated, "Female enemy combatants shall be provided appropriate facilities for maintaining feminine hygiene and appearance." This policy reflected both practical health concerns and recognition of psychological welfare. Lieutenant Mary Harrison, way-off officer at Fort Oglethorpe, explained in an administrative memo, maintaining appearance correlates with discipline maintenance and mental stability among female detainees. At Camp Shanks, New York, the women's temporary facility included washing basins with mirrors, hooks for clothing, and privacy screens, amenities many prisoners hadn't experienced since before the war. Hot water flowed daily, a luxury that had disappeared from many German cities under Allied bombing. Camp inventories listed laundering facilities with actual soap powder, not the ersatz washing agents that had become standard in Germany. The barracks themselves, while simple, maintained standards of cleanliness and privacy impossible in wartime Germany. Photographs from Fort Oglethorpe show neat rows of beds with white linens, individual footlockers, and windows with actual curtains. Prisoners received regular clothing exchanges, maintaining standards of cleanliness impossible in German civilian life by 1944. Marga Kunze, a captured Luftwaffe assistant administrator, wrote in a censored letter, "Americans consider cleanliness not luxury, but necessity. Even as prisoners, we have hot water, soap and privacy, things our sisters at home have sacrificed for years." This observation, initially merely practical, contained the seeds of deeper ideological questions. If America could provide enemy prisoners with standards of living exceeding those of German civilians, what did that reveal about comparative systems? The standard-issue beauty items American women took for granted represented an industrial capacity that made basic dignity universally accessible, revealing a fundamentally different conception of both production and human worth. Within 2 months of detention, female POW camps developed organized beauty maintenance systems that became integral to daily routines. Fort Oglethorpe's records document a formal weekly schedule, allocating specific barracks times for hair washing and styling. Prisoners with professional salon experience emerged as valued community members. Gerda Weiss, formerly a Berlin hairdresser before being drafted as a Luftwaffe communications specialist, established a makeshift salon in Barrack C, using a wooden chair, hand mirror, and scissors permitted under security protocols.